Quickly, I think my campaign will get covered in the question period, so I'd like to talk about something a little bit different. First of all, when I first started to run, I remember they were redistricting the supervisor districts, and I remember watching the supervisor meeting during that time. And I believe all the Scotts Valley City Council people were there. And for those of you not familiar with, basically District 5 only needed about 1,500 people to make them equivalent with the other districts. So there's a big question about exactly what they did, and all the city councilmen explained exactly. Number one is to try to have the right number of candidates, or equal number of candidates for each voters. I'm sorry, for each district. And secondly, to keep a community united. They violated both of those things, and all the city councilmen spoke at that meeting, and afterwards when I watched the supervisors voted, they said, well, I feel your pains, I know it's tough, blah, 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 but they voted unanimously to do the redistricting plan, which made really no sense to me at all. And the bottom line was, I knew something was being withheld. I always felt like there's something wrong here. And then I was always interested in California Forward. I got in, I was looking at that, and I actually thought that would be something very interesting to get involved with, and I'm going to run out of time. And so thank you.
Thank you, and good evening, and for being interested in the process of our electoral process. I'm Bruce McPherson. I'm a fourth generation Santa Cruz County native. I was born actually in the 5th District. I have written opinions about, and served in elective office representing this area for all of my life. And I feel like I know the issues very, very well. I really have enjoyed going door to door to each and every district, or each and every precinct in the district. It has been really a welcome opportunity to meet each and every one of you. I think that the things that really make me stand out above the other candidates who I have a great deal of respect for is the experience that I've had, not only in the nonprofit charitable agencies that I've served on and worked with people throughout all my life, but in government as well, in state government. I think that experience in working with a broad range of people, the knowledge of the issues that are before us today, and they're critical ones based on some economic difficulties that we're having throughout the nation and throughout the state, and then the people that I know throughout government who I think I can help bring more to what we need in this district and in this county. This is especially important in this time of what is called realignment, when the state is pushing more responsibilities down to the local level, to the counties, which are an arm of the state government. We started that with the law enforcement, with the prison system, where we're keeping nonviolent felons in our own prisons. It's going to get more intense for health and welfare services. I think I am the right person with my experience, with the knowledge of the issues and the personal contacts I have, to serve you best and make sure that Santa Cruz County in the 5th District gets its fair share. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to once again thank everybody for coming here tonight to hear what 3 people have to say about our community. I was born and raised also in the 5th District. I am 4th generation. I was raised in a family that has and continues to have a huge civic involvement, from running nonprofits to environmental protection to walking the watersheds when I was a youth to today. I serve on Boulder Creek Parks and Rec Board. I've served on it for 8 years, was able to take a dysfunctional organization and turn it into, voted by the state as the best small district within our peers. I sit on the Boulder Creek Business Association as president. I've served for 6 years on Mountain Community Resources Board of Directors and helped orchestrate a merger with Community Bridges, allowing for a program such as that to be sustainable and keep its doors open. I also opened and started Youth First, which was a nonprofit organization in Felton that housed a teen center and a skate park center and a BMX park. We had the doors open for 8 years until we had funding shortages and had to merge with Mountain Community Resource Center, again allowing for some sustainability in an area. I also understand the 5th District and how unique it is. We have the San Lorenzo Valley, which is governed by one person, one supervisor. We have the city of Scotts Valley that is governed by a city council, and Santa Cruz that is governed by a city council. The supervisor has to be able to work and understand the significance, the equal significances and the differences between those 3 areas and represent all 3 areas well. I believe I have that experience. I have earned that experience from being involved in a local area. Thank you.
If you were district supervisor now, what is the most significant issue on which your vote or other action would have differed with the incumbents?
With the incumbents. Well, I think that one of them would have been that involved the city of Santa Cruz. I think, and he was a supervisor, but he was a member of the Coastal Commission, and I think that allowing that, I would have made something work in that. I think that that was something that this county needs. We base so much on the importance of tourism to our economy, along with agriculture, high technology, and education research are the drivers of our economy. I think we desperately need to encourage people to work together in tourism, and it begins with the city of Santa Cruz, with Scotts Valley, and with the unincorporated area. That is one of the major areas that I would really try to make work. I think another thing that we have to do is make sure that we have the various agencies work together. I think this supervisor has done that and tried to do that, Mark Stone, who is running for the Assembly now. But I think in some of the areas of the transportation policies that we have, we need to see how we can combine and encourage the network of transportation that we have, whether it be by increasing bicycle ridership or bus ridership. We need to do a better job of making that work and cooperate with the transit district. I think that we have an excellent chance to really spring forward and help in the economic development of this area, and we can do it very sensitively because, as I said, our economy is based on very environmentally sensitive topics such as agriculture, the high-tech industry, and education. And I think that we can do a better job in trying to promote economic development so people can work here in our community.
To try and single out a particular agenda item in which, Mark Stone voted on or against, I think is a little unfair because you're trying to put a lot of pressure on someone who's making those tough choices. If I were to take a look at what's lacking and what hasn't been happening, I think it has more along the lines to do with being out in this community and really talking to individual businesses one-on-one, going out and spending the time to talk with all the different nonprofits that are both in the San Lorenzo Valley, Santa Cruz, and Scotts Valley areas, and having extensive workshops to try and educate the public about how their money is being spent and what those funding sources are. Because most people that I talk to when I'm out walking the street are very much misinformed or not informed or not paying attention as well. around transportation and funding. You know, they think that with the RTC looking at doing a $500 million project of widening of Highway 1, that they think that that money can automatically go out to fill their potholes, where, you know, that's not the case. So that's just on the transportation side. But I also think that works with economic development. I think coming out to the business associations and having meetings with each business association and both chambers and trying to bring everybody together with that same vision is extremely important. And I think the supervisor has the ability to bring those people of like mind together. There is no reason that the Scotts Valley, San Lorenzo Valley, and Santa Cruz area business associations and chambers aren't working together every day on how can we improve our business development here. All three sectors need it. All three sectors are unique and can bring a different part of a business sector. So there it is. Thanks.
Oh, I can spend 2 minutes on the Coastal Commission. I think they've gotten a little bit too much power. The La Bahia Hotel would have been extremely beneficial for the city of Santa Cruz, for that industry. And I think everybody that lives here knows that the boardwalk and the waterfront of Santa Cruz is a big draw here, and it's a big tourism dollars. And we all know, I don't know, you have kids, you don't really walk through beach flats. It's like a ghetto. And so I believe that area could be improved. It's obviously not something that the County Board of Supervisors they can have some involvement with, but it's mainly the issue of the city of Santa Cruz. But bottom line, and there's a lot of other issues that the coastal commissions, believe me, I'm a serious environmentalist, and I highly agree with the Coastal Act with overdevelopment of rural, not city of Santa Cruz areas of development that they protect, and I'm highly in agreement with that. But they've gotten involved with other issues involved with the city of Santa Cruz that have little environmental impact, but they are big economic help. We are part of the environment, and then a big part of my campaign is to develop the economy, and it's not right. And I'll go over to a little bit later, but there's certain things that the county does that really kills the economy. We need to stop that. We need to protect the environment as well. It's a real fine line to walk for. It's difficult. It's real hard. And that's why when I developed my campaign, I said, you know, let's get out of the red and into the green. Green meaning both environmental protection. Obviously, it's a big part of our tourism industry. We need to protect it, not only, you know, for our own health and our own spiritual well-being, but okay. Thank you.
Question 2, Mr. Hammer, you'll begin. Are there any specific initiatives or issues that you are especially passionate about seeing through if you are elected 5th District Supervisor?
I think there's several, but I think the one that comes first to mind would be the preservation of our local library system and our Parks and Rec system. I know those are two, but to me they're both equal. We're taking a look at last year they cut funding and hours to the local library system. This past couple of months they've been able to backfill some of those areas. I think that I would very much champion the completion of the Felton Library. They've been able to secure the land. The next step there is to build a pad and be able to put some portables out there so that we can have a state-of-the-art library. It won't be the state-of-the-art library that RDA funding like Scotts Valley got here, but it will can serve the San Lorenzo Valley. When I take a look at Parks and Rec, recreation is extremely important for cross demographics and for families. And right now the Parks and Recs department was merged with Public Works, and I think it's being underutilized, you know. In this economic downturn and the hardships that people are having in their families, being able to go out and enjoy nature and forget about your problems, to get healthy. Healthy and obesity is one of the big issues that we're dealing with now too. So parks and recreation help with that. It helps with demeanor. It also, if we generate our parks, we've got Big Basin and Castle Rock and Henry Cow. You know, these are huge state parks. If we start utilizing them better and promoting them better, it's going to help with tourism, it's going to help with jobs, it's going to help with your health. So those are the two items that I think are up on the top of the list. Thanks.
I don't know if anybody's been following my campaign, but my main focus is the economy. I know that there's a lot of capitalist, things out there, but capitalism works. And my issue is, and I really think that's going to be very helpful to develop a board of economic development. I've been listening to John Leopold. He hired some full-time staff members for economic development. Well, that costs a lot of money. We need a think tank. I mean, it's when I got into it, it's really a complicated actual subject. We need to focus in on our strengths, what we have here, and jobs are a godsend. Anybody I know that there's people out there that start businesses out here. That is so helpful, especially in this realignment prisoner release program. We're gonna have more guys around in the county. We need jobs, and we need to get off the couch. Capitalism works, and so that's I'm going to talk more. Next question, I'm going to talk about my Board of Economic Development. I think it'll be really helpful, and to create jobs and to increase vocational training. I have a friend that owns a winery, and he talked about there's this culinary class at Cabrillo College that they're going to cut. Well, and it's like really this great class, and it'd really be helpful. And vocational training is very broad, but I don't know. A lot of people, like was told, oh, you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, goddammit, and you're going to study science. But we need the people that fall into their careers, get busy, create goods and services, build economy. We can keep Santa Cruz weird, but let's start making it smart. We can get the revenues, to do that. Thank you.
There's a group of topics that are very important and could be at the top of any of our lists, I'm sure. But public safety is number one for me. I think if we don't have confidence in public safety, then everything else is literally in second place. And with the resources that we have and the sheriff, under Sheriff Phil Wowack, they're doing an excellent job, and everybody appreciates it. It's just that they're down about 25 to 30 people of what they were 2 or 3 years ago. And they only have 2 deputies on patrol at any one time in the evening. That's just not enough. We deserve better. We need to have more attention put in that regard, I think, to that subject matter. I think the subject of libraries is a sincere one. I was one of the signers of the initiative or the measure in June of 2008 to extend the quarter-cent sales tax in the library forever, so it didn't get cut off in just a couple of years. I think that libraries are an extension of our public education system. They're absolutely critical, and Felton in particular, in that measure, was promised to have first priority, and it's still waiting to get it, and it's going to get it from me, because it needs it and it deserves it for not only the library services, but as a community center for that town. Roads are a huge issue as well, and they're in absolutely pathetic shape in the Upper Valley when I've walked the precincts up there. There's no question that this has been neglected for not just 2 years or 3 years, but for 10 or 20 years. And we need to put more of our emphasis on how we can go about getting the resources, the financial resources together, whether it means to get something from other parts of the budget, which I don't know where that is, or if it means to possibly raise revenues for a little while so we can get on to that program. But those are 3 of the subjects that I would really like to address initially when I'm county supervisor. Thank you.
What do you see as your role with the local business community? Give specific examples.
Well, basically, I wanted to create a board of economic development, and basically it would support business growth in the county. And then the other thing is also the big thing that I'd like it to have to do is to look at the county, to make the county more customer orientated towards the certain. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question just exactly, but I'm highly supportive of business professionals. are the talent that we need, and I think that a lot of there's sort of the people that are successful have seen some sort of animosity towards as they're greedy or whatever, but. I mean, that's the type of people that we really need to encourage and then that's the payoff. If you do work hard, and I know it's really hard. I'm a career person. I'm a civil engineer, but we need people. So the Board of Economic Development, wouldn't cost. It's basically an advisory board that I got the idea from Sonoma County, and I studied California Forward, but I actually developed this whole thing on my own, but basically, and then also vocational training is a big thing, and then also inviting outside companies that possibly would like to relocate to Santa Cruz County is a big task that, if I got elected as supervisor, I probably wouldn't be able to handle. That's why I decided the Board of Economic Development. But making the county is the second biggest employer of the county, needs to be efficient.
I think that we need to present a different attitude in this county about how we feel about business. This county is structured around being very sensitive to the environment, and that's why we live here and we love it. And as I said, our business and manufacturing community, whatever it is really, it requires that we be economic or environmentally friendly to build on what we have. Let's build on what we have in agriculture, in the tourism industry, in the high-tech industry, in the education research that we have here. That's what pulls people together. And what is needed is just not government tease, it's education too, because when employers come here and they want to put a new business here, they want a good education system. And that's why I'm supporting the measure for the Scotts Valley parcel tax, because they're deeply in need of it. They're not asking too much, and the state isn't stepping up to support that system here in the city of Scotts Valley, and as well as Santa Cruz. And I'm one of the signers of the parcel taxes to have that done. Those are critically important elements to really having a better business atmosphere and really encouraging people to come here. And Scotts Valley, by example, has been great in welcoming the kind of businesses we want, whether it be Zero Motorcycles, that is very economically sensitive, it's right down here, down on Scotts Valley Drive. It is exporting things to Europe now. And that's the kind of a business we want. The Eastern sports equipment, those businesses are very good. We need to have an encouragement. We don't need to develop a whole new department, but we need to cooperate with the chambers of commerce and the business councils to find out what their needs are, so the county, if somebody comes to the county and says, what is available that I can build something on to manufacture something and prevent people from going over to the hill to work, I want to be for that. I want to step up to the plate and make it happen.
Okay, I think the question was about what have you done directly with businesses in the business community in which you live or serve. Currently, I own a construction company, and through that construction company, it's a small business, local business. I was elected onto the Boulder Creek Business Association and have served as president for 2 years. And what we have done in that 2-year period is started to outreach and understand the importance of creating partnerships with the other business associations and chambers. And we started an ad hoc committee that was with Judy Anderson, who was the president of Felton Business Association, Thomas Wynn, who was with the SLV Chamber at the time, and we started talking about core beautification and historic preservation of the San Lorenzo Valley to promote business and tourism. We met for about a year. We put together a series of points that we wanted to get to, whether it be from trying to keep a look from the banners and the lights. We've been working together as businesses to create a campaign to raise money so that we can do a solar project, so that we can light up the businesses first in Boulder Creek with a solar light project, and looking to unify the entire San Lorenzo Valley, and then try and work with the Scotts Valley Chamber to continue that. We put on the 4th of July parade as local businesses that promotes tourism promotes people to the town. Felton Remembers, the same type of an event. In fact, it's coming up in a couple of weeks. That's the type of hands-on work that I've done with the local business community, and I hope as supervisor, I know as supervisor, I will continue that. In fact, in that role, it'll be a lot easier for me to join Scotts Valley, Santa Cruz, and the San Lorenzo Valley with one mission, and that's to improve our economy and local businesses. Thank you.
The county budget keeps shrinking every year. If additional cuts are necessary, where would you cut?
Well, that's pretty difficult to say in 2 minutes. So one thing's, I think it's better to say what your priorities are than to what you would cut, because everybody's been cut to the bone. And I think that the labor of the county has to be credited too. When they have seen some of the light about the problems with what we have in the county budget, that they've come to the front and said, we'll be part of the brunt of this, and we'll take some hits on our pension programs and so forth. So I think that they're to be credited with doing that. I would really think that we ought to change the processes of what we do in government so people have more trust in it, because they don't trust government in general. We ought to have, I think, a 2-year budgeting cycle. We ought to have performance-based budgeting, and if I give you $1 million to do this, and what's your goal, and you tell me in 2 years I haven't reached my goal, then we're going to change the way we're doing things, or you are, or we're going to just cut it altogether. We have to let people know also there's got to be much more transparency in what we are doing. What are our targets so the general public can understand them better? People today don't trust their government because they don't know where the money's going, and then they read about it and they can't believe where it has gone in some instances. So we have to be more open and transparent, and we have to be realistic too. This is how much we have. We're being cut in the county, the state's being cut. Well, the federal government doesn't know what cut is. It's pretty pathetic what they're doing, driving us into bankruptcy as a nation, it seems. But we have to balance our budget accordingly, and we ought to just say, this is how much we have, these are our priorities, we're going to show you what we're going to do, and then we're going to show you, did we succeed in the plan that we put together. Thank you very much.
The budget, that is always a big question for everybody. Labor did make huge sacrifices, as did social services, as did pretty much every department within the county of Santa Cruz. Everybody took around a 15 to 20% cut, and they're looking at doing another 15% cut this year. What I would do, and what I have promised to do, again, is keep that process transparent. It's an educational process to the community, as I mentioned before. It's being honest with the unions. I have the endorsement of just about every labor union in the county. And what I promised them is the same thing that I'm promising you, is the fact that I'm going to reach out, I'm going to involve everybody in that process so that I can make the best informed decision that I can. I do not think that the budget that comes forth, that comes directly from Susan, is the end-all. I think you need to take a look at it from each department head, and I also think you need to take a look at it from the line staff to come up with ideas on how to make challenging cuts. But the cuts are going to happen. I think we also got to take a look at how we can increase revenue. I think one of the ways that we can increase revenue is allowing a building department to give out permits, because people pay for those. You know, there are hundreds of illegal construction practices that are going out there every day. If you made it really user-friendly and invited, not only invited, if you went out into the community to local businesses that have storefronts that are closed, and you go to those owners and you say, what can I do to help you open your store? I know two downtown Ben Lomond in that same area that won't open a business because of how difficult that is. Increasing revenue. Thank you.
The way I look at this is really government's a failure. I mean, you know, I'm an underdog. I'm coming from the private sector. We take your money and we misspend it. And I mean, there's no reason why the government can't go in the black. And my philosophy on this is, you know, when I don't know, people my age, we had a certain set of tasks that the county was responsible for, took your money in, and we tried to do the best job that we could with that money, whatever you wanted to do. And that's been lost, and we're not doing that. We need to be efficient with whatever money. Why take money? They say the millionaires and billionaires tax. No, why take money away from these people that know how to handle money? I want the millionaires and billionaires to create businesses. That would be the absolute best benefit for the whole county. So the bottom line is, I tried to focus my campaign. I started out with saying I am the big environmental. I believe I'm the best environmentalist campaign. But no, economy's huge. We take your money in, and we need to spend it efficiently. We need whatever you want. If for some reason that we wouldn't be able to provide the services that you wanted, we'll ask you, and we'll need 2/3 of a vote and if you want that service to be provided. But all the other services that we are committed to provide, Board of Supervisors need to provide most efficient services for that and take their job seriously instead of bickering and do the best job for what they're paid for. Thank you.
The county has committed to paying retired employees' pensions. Do you see the current pension system as a problem for the future finances of the county? If so, what would you do to change it?
That's a tough question. You can't make anybody happy with that answer. You really can't. I mean, you're talking about people that have been on one tier for 20 years or, real close to retirement and asking them to change it, or people that are coming in that have gone through, maybe 4 years or 8 years worth of college to try and get a high-paying job with the fact that the benefits are there. I think that what you've seen in the county, and I think what you've seen happening this last couple of years, is a two-tiered system. They're making gradual changes because it is understood that the system that's there in place today won't work. It's helping to bankrupt the county. It's one piece of it. Do I have an answer for that? I don't. But what I do have is the ability to go out and continue talking with people at the county level and outside the county and in the private sector to say, hey, how can we make these numbers work? And we need to do some business forecasting for the next 5-10 years. I think we need to find out, take the worst case scenario and work from there. So do I have a simple solution? I don't. Thank you.
There's a lot of, I've been following this, and there's a lot of lawyers that say that you can't touch the pensions from, past employers, whatever. But I haven't examined closely the numbers, but actually, obviously it's unsustainable. And you have your past politicians to thank for the situation. And it's kind of like the Lompico Water District that I got on. I got blamed for all the problems that they had before. And I believe that I want the past pensions reduced to something that's reasonable. We're basically getting ripped off by not having, the new employees deserve to get a fair pension. And you're not going to attract quality employees. And basically, the bottom line, the public's getting ripped off for some overly, like I said, I haven't really studied the numbers, but some overly zealous pensions have been granted for past. My dad he served as a judge, and he has a pension too, but I'm not sure. I haven't asked him how much he's getting, but I really believe, lawyers have a stranglehold on the politics and everything else, and they all are barking up and say, "Hey, you can't reduce the pensions." But I do believe that they should be reduced to a level that's, very fair, very comparable to what that I get. And I'm actually a union member for retirement. And maybe a little bit more, but anyway, not something that's obviously, from most people that have looked at this, it's breaking the bank, okay? So, we need to, it needs to be addressed, and obviously we need to follow the state. Thank you.
Yeah, well, obviously, the pension system as we know it today is not sustainable. And as I said before, the labor unions in the county and through other various agencies have taken a hit. And maybe we'll have to take another look at that in general. I do recall when I was in the legislature and these enormous pensions were being discussed, I went to county supervisors and county administrators throughout the state, went to city council members and city managers, and they said back in 1990s, mid-90s, we keep going at this pace, we're going to be paying more people for pensions who are retired than we are for the people who are on the street working for us. We've got to put a damper on all this. Too bad we didn't listen, and I was listening to them and did not go for the enormity of some of the pension programs that we know today. But you know, the people negotiated this fair and squarely. And so we have to look at that. It's much more difficult to take away than to give something, believe me, when you're a representative of at any level. But we have to take another look at that and see if we can make that happen. But probably we can't anticipate that that's just going to be an enormous decrease if it happens again. I do think from this day forward, to be fair to those who are coming into the county employment or whatever level of government it might be, we have to restructure the pension system so we can afford it and be reasonable about it again. We've lost all visions of reality in the budgeting process throughout the federal government and throughout the state government, and it's never a true fix. It's always something that just doesn't work quite like they said it would, and everybody knew it from the beginning. So we have to be honest with each other. This is probably the revenues we're going to get. This is the kind of pension that we can negotiate from this day forward. Thank you.
If you were elected, how would you balance growth with a sustainable water supply and preservation of the environment?
Okay, this is tough. Yeah, like I said, I'm an environmentalist, and a lot of my economic development plans was, try to do economic development without expanding the human footprint. I think, and I stated earlier at the Target store was a good example of, it moved down to the Capitola Mall without expanding the human footprint. Water's a serious issue. I'm vocally against the desalination plant where it costs 4 to 5 times more to produce water. Like I said, I'm very much environmentalist, and tourism is a huge thing that we need to benefit by economically, for having our, area here. Bottom line is, I ask people, how many people can we fit in Santa Cruz County? What's your thing? But the bottom line is, we can make decisions for our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. I don't care, if you have them for years, but we can set the stage for how we want this county to be for, a long time. And a lot of these decisions affect that. And so I'll take anybody on right now. There's 250,000 people here in the county right now. What's your limit? What do you want? And, nobody can tell me because they haven't really thought about it enough. But really, when I'm thinking about it, really water is really the issue. So anyway, I'm really in favor of big conservation issues, reclaimed water use. I want to revisit rebuilding a reservoir at the sand quarry. I think it might help with groundwater recharge and actually provide a recreational area in this area. And thank you. My time's up. Thank you.
Well, the easiest answer is conservation. And ladies and gentlemen, we're all to be commended in this county, especially in the mid-county area, because we have the best record of anybody in the state of conserving water. And now we're being asked to do it in some places again, so we're going to have to go at it, because these highs and lows of rain and then drought, they come and go from one year to the next that we've just experienced in the last 2 years. So I think we can dig a little deeper, but we should not anticipate that we're going to reduce our water usage by 15 or 20% probably. We're probably in the 5% range, because we've done an excellent job. And we have to, so from there, where do we go? There's a couple places that I think that we need to look at. Desalinization is, of course, top on the list right now in the city of Santa Cruz and the Soquel Creek County Water District. I don't know about that. It's going to be costly, we know that, but the impact on the environment and just itself is yet to be determined, in the energy costs that are going to be associated with a desalinization plant. That EIR, the Environmental Impact Report, is not coming out until June or so, maybe a little later. We have to look at that before we make that decision and see what impact it truly is going to have, because I don't know. And if you know more than what the Environmental Impact Report of a month or two from now is going to say, well, then I'd like to listen to what your opinion is. But we have to wait and see on that. And then I think that interties with other districts so we can replenish our aquifers in rainy seasons. That's critical. We have to do that. And that's going to necessitate tying in one district to another, one city to another district, whatever the case may be. Because if we don't replenish those aquifers and there's saltwater intrusion, those aquifers are gone forever. So we need to encourage the cooperation with interties in our water systems throughout the county.
How to manage slow growth with water conservation and water issues. It's a huge topic, and what I know that we don't want to do is some of the policy that's already been set before us. There was approval for the expansion of UCSC before the water units were available. I think that any type of policy that we set, we need to make sure that we have the adequate water up front. How we get that water is where everybody differs. I've had the ability to, in the last 4 or 5 months, speak with the majority of the professionals that manage our water today: Scotts Valley, Santa Cruz, San Lorenzo Valley, Soquel, and everybody's got ideas, and they're all working together. I think that we're lucky with that. Everybody recognizes there's a problem. Conservation, we definitely have to look at it. And I think it's not just about the future growth that we have to pass that on to the developers. I also think we need to take a look at the developments that have already happened. We need to take a look at the amount of impervious pavement that's out there, and how can we create retention and detention systems that can be utilized underneath those parking lots and doing pervious pavement. We need to take a look at the ties that were talked about, but that's called shared water. We need to be able to look at how we can do a shared water plan. These are all extremely expensive projects. The low-hanging fruit, so to speak, is gone. So we need to get a couple of plans. We need to take a look at how we're going to obtain the funding, and then we need to be able to grow accordingly to what our natural resources are. My feeling on the slow growth is we need to be able to fix up the homes that we already have. If you make it easy to get the permits, to go in and take these environmentally hazardous homes that were built in the 20s and 30s and rebuild them, you're going to improve the environment and the resources. Thank you.
The county is in the process of revising its building and zoning codes to make it easier to develop property. Would you streamline the county planning process? If so, how?
Everybody's talked about streamlining the planning process for the last 50 years, I think. I saw that when I was 26 years as a news reporter and editor of the Santa Cruz Sentinel, and for 13 years when I was in public policy, and 6 years after that. It goes on and on. Yes, and there have been changes just recently that the County Board of Supervisors instituted about planning and allowing people to get their permits. The issue is we have a shrinking resource of where you can build something, and it's probably a more difficult property than what's been built before. It's just not your flat land and so forth. But we surely can't make mistakes in trying to build something in an environmentally sensitive area like Zayante Oaks above the Safeway in Felton, and have that try to do something of that nature and cost this county $1 million in the process of what wasn't going to work in the first place, and people didn't want it. That is something that we should be really sensitive to. I do think that the planning process can be improved. I think it has been under the current planning director. But I have heard probably more than anything else when walking door to door, people talking about the headaches and the nightmares of being told one thing and then saying, okay, I've met that standard, and then coming back and having to meet another. We have a very, very complex planning code, and we have a very good general plan that necessitates slow growth that people want here. We just have to be upfront and honest of what is available, what can be done in the planning process, and be sensitive, as always, to the environment. That's why we live here. That's why I'm fortunate to have been born here and lived here all my life. That's what I appreciate, and we have to be sensitive to that. So I think we can make improvements, and I think we're on our way to doing that, and I would work toward that end if I were elected supervisor.
There's several ways that we can make changes within the planning department. You've seen some of them, or actually you haven't seen some of them take place in the last year. The planning director has started reaching out to the community and involving us, design professionals, business professionals, and community members in the process of changing the building codes. The non-conforming policy that was just changed and approved at the county level and just starting to be implemented actually today, I came in with a set of plans, and for the first time they were looking at trying to institute a change in it. And there's a learning curve there. But today, the intake people that I looked at and worked with were smiling, they were happy, and they were there to try and help me through the process. That, I think, is a first step, is making, and then I'll go out and tell 200 people that, hey, you know what, I had a great process today. Did I get what I wanted? No, I can't build what I want to build there, but you know what, they were willing to speak to me. I think that is the first step. And then the continuity is the second piece of this. You need to get the same answers every time you go, and it needs to be user-friendly. We're not talking about removing the environmental restrictions that are out there. I think we even need to tighten some of the environmental restrictions that are in place today. But that doesn't have to inhibit growth and getting permits. I walked with a guy, he's got a non-conforming garage because it was built in 1940, wants to put a pitch roof on it. You know what, with the new order that was put into place this last month, he can do that. He doesn't know that yet. So it's about informing the public. I think that's extremely important. And then we need to have some focus groups, when I get supervisor, sitting down with the director of planning and saying, how can we streamline this process? How can we have more over-the-counter permits? Thank you.
How would you prioritize the repair of the county's deteriorating physical infrastructure?
Roads and potholes, curbs and gutters, and the funding to try and fix it. That is a question. There's no real easy answer where we're going to come up with $12 million a year, and that's what it takes to adequately service our roads, over 700 miles of roads in this county. When I met with the director of Public Works, that was the number he threw out at me. He said I could do Band-Aids for $3 to $4 million a year. Today, we got 1.2. It's a drop in the bucket. The funding's not there. We need to prioritize it. We need to take a look at some alternative ideas. A half-cent sales tax was talked about from the director of Public Works. It's a revenue source. If you take a look at money, here's a misconception. A lot of people have talked about the money that is being put into Highway 1 through the RTC and trying to reallocate it to go out and utilize, maintenance on public roads. That money can't be used for maintenance on public roads. It can, some of it, however, can be used to do larger projects on county roads, and that could be Nelson Road, that could be the slide out on Lompico, it could be the slide up Bear Creek Road, it could be the one up Alba. We do need to prioritize our roads. Some of the funding that one tax that has been talked about is a DMV. Right now you pay $3, and that money goes to a program on Highway 17 for safe roads. That works. The deaths and the accidents have been decreased. Although, again, it's about going out to the public and letting them know where their money is being spent. I think we're going to have to increase revenue with some outside taxes to be able to pay for the infrastructure that we need.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience with infrastructure improvements, and I believe it's the county's responsibility. Like I said earlier, we take your money, and I really believe that we need to budget more. That's one of my big things. I think I said earlier that, the economy develops a root system, but the branches are the roads and the infrastructure, and they can't be neglected. And not only that, but they can lead to, bigger costs down the road, excuse the pun, down the road, because roads, if you don't seal the top surface, water gets in there and the subgrade goes. And I don't know if anybody familiar with road construction, but it can lead to, the cost of getting a smooth road again can go up exponentially. And bottom line, people from out of state go, my gosh, California, you got all this people and you got all this money, your roads, what are you doing? So we need to get on it, and I think that out of all the infrastructure improvement projects, that's the one. John Priestley recommends chip sealing all the, it's like 600 miles of, it's mainly residential roads, and I agree with that. Chip sealing is it's actually a low cost maintenance of roads, but there's a lot of them that have been completely neglected, and you have to go, some of the roads are so bad that you have to go in there and fix some of the potholes, so some of the potholes are so bad first, and then put a seal over it, and then you buy, and then that road's going to be good for the, next 10 years. Otherwise, potholes get bigger, the subgrade goes, and in 10 years, we're going to be a third world country. Thank you.
I think we need a little levity here right now. Roads have been a problem for a long time, and my good friend Randall Brown reminded me of that when the first annual meeting of the San Lorenzo Board of Trade was held on June 5th, which is Election Day, I might remind you, 1907. And part of this was my great-grandfather, Duncan McPherson, editor of the Sentinel, struck a responsive chord when he said that the most important thing in this valley was good roads. Said he, your future depends more upon good roads than anything else. Then he said, go see your supervisor and get the job done. So thank you, Duncan. We're still trying. Just like education, and I mentioned in our economy, our transportation network is a critical factor in how the economy that we have and can provide for people in this county. I think that we need to understand that the state, when it gives out the money that it just did, and there was an argument over Highway 1, well, that state money that going through the county, and I think the county has made a good move in saying that we want part of that for our county road system, but we've probably got we do have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of need there, and that the road repair tax that we have, assessment, only raises about $3 million a year. It's going to take us a long time to get where we need to be. So what we need to do is just look at how we can cooperate, and we can't depend on the state to give us that state money, because Napa County tried to do that and they got zero from the state. They said, if you don't want your money for your county for state roads, you're not getting anything. So we have to be careful on what we ask for, because if we ask for everything for our own county roads, we're not going to get it. But we can do better. It's critical for our emergency services as well as our economy. It's one of the things that I think have been neglected seriously by the county over the past 20 or 30 years, and we need to upgrade it and do a better job.
What is the most important issue for youth in the 5th District and why?
The economy. And, when I started my campaign, I thought, I heard the California Forward word, and I wanted to study what they were up to, because I thought, let's move forward with make government agencies more efficient. But I watched a YouTube, and it was about this time last year, Bruce McPherson and Fred Keeley, George Blumenthal, and Sylvia Pineda were there. And I watched the whole thing, and there was a lot of patting on the back, and basically describing all the problems that California is facing. But there was no substance there. So my economic plan, I actually developed I didn't use any information from California Forward. And then I saw another YouTube with Fred Keeley talk about redistricting and the open primary. And he almost looked like a general up there, and he was like placating all the Democratic people at a California And they said, we need to keep a certain amount of room for the Republicans here, and there's an incumbent protection plan that we talked about. I voted against it, but, and then you ought to be happy as a Democrat because we made, stark gains, and we were likely to get 2/3 vote in the future. But the thing is, and I'm going to go here, I want to say to Mr. Keeley, we're the people that we're the incumbent protection. We want to decide who wants to stay in office or not. We're the people. We don't want you messing around. We want Democrats to come up with good ideas, state that they're good ideas, and convince the Republicans. We want Republicans to get up and convince and have good ideas. We want leaders, and we want to work together for real solutions.
The question again is, what's the most important thing that we would do as a supervisor? There's so many needs now because of the cuts that we've had to take, understandably so, and how we've done it the last several years. But again, there's a couple things that do come to mind. It is our public safety, to assure adequate public safety is provided for the citizens of this county, to improve our transportation network, which is just absolutely terrible up in the San Lorenzo Valley in particular. We need to pay more attention to that, and we may need to help ourselves to get it done, to provide the financial resources to do anything immediately. If that's the case, then let's do it. I'm also concerned, and it's a step away from the County Board of Supervisors, about our schools and our educational system. And I want to see how the county, and I want to make the county be a cooperative government agency with other agencies in this county. We need more efficiency in government because that's where we're going to get to provide more services. We can't do it alone. We have to cooperate with school districts, maybe to provide more recreational resources on their school grounds. We have to cooperate with the public transit district to alleviate the transportation problem from our public schools. If you go to San Lorenzo Valley School, where I think 1,700 kids in elementary, junior high, and high school come in, and it's like a parking lot there every morning. We have to see if we can't cooperate with the transit system, the district, to see how we can provide those kind of services, those bus services, transportation services to children. And it would require some oversight by public safety officials, probably on buses and so forth, that we might be able to work that out. Let's have a cooperative venture here, because we're going to get better efficiencies, just like the Human Care Alliance does in the health and human services that we oversee, and we need to continue to support them as well.
Okay, so here we go, free for all. I talked about libraries to start with and recreation programs to start with. Let's talk a little bit about fire safety and police protection, because it's extremely important. I know it was touched upon, but I don't think it was touched upon strongly enough for the San Lorenzo Valley. The San Lorenzo Valley, again, is very different than Santa Cruz and Scotts Valley, that has municipalities that protect them. They have their own fire departments, they have their own police department, and they have mutual aid with each other. If there's an accident that's between Santa Cruz and Scotts Valley, they have the ability to bring in Santa Cruz, Scotts Valley, Capitola, and the sheriff's department to respond, plus the fire departments from both those areas. When we have the same type of accident up at the top of 236, what do we have? We've got the sheriff's department that could be as much as 45 minutes away, and they've got 2 officers up there. We have a satellite system that is in place in Felton that is shared with CAL FIRE. That doesn't work out that well for either one of those companies. We need to take a look at expanding services up to the San Lorenzo Valley and north of it. Felton is not the center of the San Lorenzo Valley and the services. You need to take a look at Ben Lomond when you take a look at the mileage there. So we need more law enforcement. We need money for fire protection. If you take a look at Los Cumbres, CSA, the special district up there, they're running out of money. They were looking at not having enough money to fulfill their obligation to provide service in our area. That's dangerous for us, and we really need to find a way to allocate more funding up this way and more services, not trying to leave out Scotts Valley and Santa Cruz because it's equally important, but I do believe that they have the resources there already. we need to take a look on this one particular issue of how to protect this area of our corridor. Thank you.
What is the most important issue for children and youth in the 5th District and why?
I think it was brought up last forum about a bike path and through Highway 9, which is a safe bike path for children to ride to school, which I'm highly in favor of. And all the school programs. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and Scotts Valley really is a wonderful place with the library and Sky Park for children. Let's face it, that there are our most important assets, and and some of those improvements really aren't, I know that some people have been talking about a bike path all the way to Santa Cruz, but some of the bike paths, just so that children have a safe way to get to school back and forth, aren't, overly, expensive. And I think those are very important. All the various school programs. And then I've been touting vocational training, but that's more community college, high school, perhaps even junior high school programs that I think kids need. Kids would love it. I talked to a lot of people my age. My age, you had to be a lawyer or a doctor, and that was it. And you couldn't. But there's a lot of kids that want to, really become the next entrepreneurs and be very valuable that way. So, thank you.
I do think that public safety, transportation, the library, as we've been mentioned, but I would really like to get down to saying healthcare and the problem with obesity that we have throughout this nation, throughout this area. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a healthcare crisis that is just going to bury us if we don't get a grip on this. And it's going to take responsibility from parents, as well as educators, as well as government people, and in the communications network that we have, to really have people understand what a serious threat this is. It has exploded in the last years. And we have, and I'll mention the Human Care Alliance, a great consortium of over 50 health and human service agencies in this county that the county brought together over 30 years ago when federal revenue sharing, remember that, was cut out in the 1970s. They're doing their best to cooperate. We have to work through people like them to address, and if we're going to get specific, if we can get our kids to live healthier lives and really reduce the threat of being overweight and obesity, we are going to help us all, but most specifically children, because you can lose your eyesight, you lose your limbs. It's serious business. Diabetes type 2 is really serious, and I think the people don't know the seriousness of it. We have to do this through a communication network so we can let people know it's valuable, not only just for the health, but for the costs that are going to be enormous for the healthcare services that this is going to require if we don't get a grip on it. So that's what I think we should do for our youth. Let's have them be healthy.
Children and the youth and teens, they're our future. They're what we need to look to protect us when we get older. They also need to have fun. When I grew up, there were dams that were put up on the San Lorenzo River where you could go out in the summer and swim. There was Forest Pool. There was a bowling alley in Felton. Recently there was still the skate park, not park, but the roller rink that was used for hockey and a multitude of programs. It was safe to, at 10 and 12 years old, take a bus down into Santa Cruz and go down the beach. Probably more like 13, 14. Today, parents are pretty concerned about sending their youth on public transportation down to the beach to play with other kids, to go to junior guards, to have programs. So what I think is missing is youth programming today. And youth programming today has many different facets to it. It's going out and playing with each other on a pickup basketball game. It's job development, early job development, teaching kids work ethic. Youth today don't have the same work ethic I don't feel they have the same work ethic as we did growing up. I know it. I've got a 14-year-old kid. To get him to do his chores, oh my God. But although the 6-year-olds love it, we need services. Through Youth First, we had a safe place for kids to go after school, and we promoted tutoring sessions. We promoted a drug-free environment, and that's important. We provided nutritious meals and a place for kids to feel safe, and just a social area. We need to bring that back. We need to reinstitute more programs for the youth and kids. Thank you.
As 5th District Supervisor, what would your role be in preventing access to drugs and gangs for county youth?
For county children and youth, yeah, right, okay. I apologize for this, I understand that before, but, well, it's going to take a cooperative effort, and it's going to, we need to listen to what the experts in this field have to say and how we should address this, because this is a huge problem that we're seeing in the gang-related problems that we have. We have to find out how we can alleviate this, and I think one of the things that we can do is provide more services for our children, our youth, and after-school programs, which I've been involved with all my life in helping people, children, from literacy programs, excuse me, to after-school athletic programs, sports programs. Those are the types of things that we need to address to give them something to do. There's a lot of free time, it seems. And it's partly caused, in a sense, a problem because the parents aren't home when their children come home from school because both are working. Well, that's a fact of life. We just have to give more opportunities for the children of our county to have more experiences, whether it be in athletics or if it be in music or drama or whatever the case may be. That's where we have to see how we can cooperate again with the school districts, with the city's recreational programs, the county's recreational programs, and the facilities that are available, whether it be on school grounds or in beaches or in parks, and to provide the opportunity for people to experience the great things that we have here, the natural resources that we have. Kids really appreciate that when they go out in the Sea Odyssey program that Jack O'Neill provides. It is a phenomenal thing that people light up and say, this is fantastic, or they go to the great redwoods that we have here. Whatever it may be, we need to provide more programs that our youth can have access to so they can enjoy what we have.
I think I first need to go backwards just for a second and say, my 14-year-old son is probably no different than any other 14-year-old son that's out there. Because he is the type of kid that's actually going to watch this, and he'll give me a hard time. But to answer the question, I think you need to really take a look at education. We need to educate from a very young age about drugs and the implications of it. We minimize drugs in a lot of ways today. You know, we minimize the usage. You know, we have medical marijuana out there in dispensaries that are easily available. You know, if you take a look at the ads that are on TV, it's all about alcohol. Alcohol leads to other drugs. You need to educate kids from right and wrong. But when you're done educating them, you also got to give them a hand when they go down that road, because kids will go down that road. It's what you do about it as parents once they start to go down that road. And that, again, is some programming to teach parents on how to handle the kids when they start going in that direction. Because where you don't want them to go is really deep, and taking a look and glorifying the gangs, because that was the other part of the question, is how do we deal with the gangs today? That's a difficult solution. I was at a Board of Supervisors meeting where we recognized members of our gang task force for doing extraordinary work. In fact, they're working with other jurisdictions within the county to try and suppress the problem. I think that is working. I think that there needs to be even more cooperation, but I think it comes down again to educating the kids while they're young, strong parenting at home. When you don't have the skills necessary to help with your kids, reach out to one of those organizations that was just talked about through Human Care Alliance. They're out there. And then again, reach your hand out, love your kids, and that's it. Thank you.
I'm not a racist, but a lot of people are afraid to say that uncontrolled immigration really isn't working. And, you know, the thing is if you look at the history of California and you know, New York, the West Side Story, it's gangs, you know, and there's a lot of violence actually in those times. Same things are happening now, but illegal immigration has been kicked to the back door and people don't really care about it. And we all know the political reasons probably, but I don't want to go into them, why that's happening. And the construction industry that I work for, 80% of the people are Mexican American, and actually a lot of them go back and retire. They come up here to get jobs. They come here for jobs. They're the hardest workers, best buddies that I have, and I have total respect for them. And they're actually legal citizens now. But coming to this country, you got kids. If you don't learn English, my wife said, "Oh, well, everybody be bilingual." Do I have time to be bilingual? Working over the hill, full-time job, running for supervisor and learn Spanish? No. So this whole bilingual thing isn't going to work. So English needs to be the sole language. And so if you have workers that come in here, they need to learn how to speak English because they can communicate, they can get jobs without. They're looking at keeping their families survive, and what does that result to? Crime and gangs, et cetera, et cetera. So jobs, learning English as the predominant language of this country is the answer. Thank you. Thanks for having me here. It didn't quite go as well as I thought. I hope I was articulate and everything. But again, I really feel that I'm offering the voter something out of the private sector. I've never had I've always worked in the private sector. I've never had job security, and I think it's really important to have somebody that's really going to try to work hard. I do want to, my first goal, if I do get elected, is to create this Board of Economic Development that I really think is going to be really helpful with the county. And if anybody out there is really concerned about the environmental, I have all the skills for that. And also, I also believe that infrastructure improvement projects, that I have really good experience with that, and I really feel that it's very beneficial to prioritize infrastructure improvement projects that the county gets the biggest bang for their buck. And as for reviewing the budget, with the county and what the county provides for your tax dollar, to basically make it the most efficient for what you want those dollars to go to. And I really feel that it's severely lacking. I feel that there's like kind of an old boys' school in politics, and I'm kind of new to it, but I really think they're kind of controlling, they're pulling the strings to some degree on who gets elected. And so, but I've been telling everybody, if you really want change, to change the way you vote, endorsements are really, who gets there first or who Don't go by endorsements, go by you're the boss. You really are. I want the control. That's why I was upset about Fred Keeley making these redistricting games and talking about them. Said get out. Don't be. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I was really flattered when so many people from the 5th District and throughout Santa Cruz County asked me to, if I might consider running for county supervisor. They said, you've doing everything else and helping this and that from Cabrillo College and the Land Trust of Santa Cruz County to Second Harvest Food Bank and United Way. We need you now in this critical time of realignment with somebody with your experience who has the knowledge of the issues and knows how the system works. And sometimes it doesn't work, and so we can't let that happen. But then has the personal contacts too, to make sure that we get our fair share here in the 5th District and throughout Santa Cruz County. I am proud of the endorsements I have because I think they stand for people saying, we have the confidence in you and we think you're the best person to do the job. And Sheriff Woolwack and the Deputy Sheriff's Association have supported me, are supporting me. Just about every member of the Scotts Valley and the Santa Cruz City Councils are supporting me. The fire protection leaders from Sam Robustelli of Boulder Creek and Steve Sanders of Ben Lomond, Ken Boynton of Zayani, they're supporting me. We're supported also by community business leaders such as George Au and his wife Gail Michaela Sau, Mike Scarborough, many, many others. And you can see a full, long list of these on my website, mcphersonforsupervisor.com. The Senior Coalition has also come to support my candidacy. They're strong believers in personal property rights, as am I, and I think we have to protect them continuously. We have distinguished environmental leaders from Jack O'Neill of Sea Odyssey, Denzel Verado, the former Deputy Superintendent of Big Basin Parks, Gary Griggs of the Long Marine Lab and Marine Sciences, and Renee Shepard, the Planning Commissioner, who has a distinguished career in that. I thank you for that, and I ask for your vote on June 5th. Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight and listening to us speak. I really enjoyed coming out and talking about the community in which we live in. It makes me proud to be a member of this community. I'd also like to thank the Chamber and the Press Banner for hosting and putting the event on, for Community TV for being here, and for the audience out there that's watching this, and for our moderator. Thank you very much. It's a tough job, I know. I do believe that endorsements are important also because they do measure who you are. I have been endorsed by local environmentalists such as Fred McPherson, who sits on the SLV Water District, who was a key person in writing the riparian corridor policy and is an expert in the watershed. And along with him, I have every member of the SLV Water District. I have current fire chiefs and current fire board members. I have school board members and Santa Cruz County Office of Education members who are endorsing me. I have several labor unions that also support me. OE3, who happens to be the union that the sheriff's posse comes under, has endorsed me. And more importantly, I have the support of my family, 100%, and I want to thank them for coming tonight. And in close, I'd like to say, please take a look at my website. I've got a list of my issues. I've got a longer list of people that have endorsed me. I've also been endorsed by the Democratic Central Committee, the Democratic Women's Club, and I look forward to your vote June 5th. Thank you.